Hey there, this video is going to talk about what is the right way to learn programming. There were a lot of students and aspirers who are keen on programming and interested to learn programming, but they simply don't know how to learn it. It is also an art which is to be carefully learned before learning the right way to learn programming. So you can't all the way go read it like a newspaper, or you can't all the way go and read it like any other book. You have some methodologies where you have to strictly practice it in order to get your programming skills. So let us jump on to the video and see what are those. A goal is important in order to learn anything, not only programming. For anything, you need a goal. If you are aspiring to become an IAS officer, it is a goal that will drive you to learn. If you are aspiring to become a government officer, or if you are aspiring to become a doctor, the goal by itself will drive you to learn. Similarly, programming is the same. If you don't have anything as a goal, it won't be of much goodness to you. Rather, it will be boring. So, in order to learn effectively, you'll have to fix a goal. A goal may be of anything. So, in this video, you're not going to dwell deep into types of frameworks or platforms that are available to fix as a goal, but rather, let me tell you some generic examples. Say you want to build an app, or you want to build a web application, you want to build an iOS or Android app, or you want to go into data analysis, something like that. There are a lot of avenues. You will have to pick your own goal based on your needs and requirements. If you are a computer science student or computer science practitioner, it is fine that you can choose your own goal with of ease. You don't find any trouble in choosing your goal. But if you are someone from any other domain, you will have to carefully pick out your goal because it's not your cup of tea. And also, I would like to mention programming is not an alien to others. It's a tool that has to be used by everyone. Computer science may not be for everyone, but programming has become more of a mobile phone that can be used by anyone. It's just a tool which is going to solve your problem at the end of the day. So fix your goal and plan accordingly. Your goal. It is not easy, that being said, you have to do a lot of work. It is better you sit with your friend who is already a software developer, or your teacher or a professor who is in a software industry. Imagine you own a shop, a retail shop, and you want to run your business online. So you want to build an e-commerce app. E-commerce is something that you sell your products online. So for that, you'll have to analyze what are all the requirements. So first, see the visible things that you come across. The first thing that users use is a web application, which is the simplest one. So you need an UI, which is an user interface. The second thing might be an app, maybe an Android app or iOS app. So you have to come to a decision of what you're going to do. You can't simply start with everything all at once. You need to decide what is the first priority. So if you want to develop a web app first, you first have to concentrate on building a web application. Or if you are going to concentrate on building a mobile application, you have to decide whether if you are going with Android or iOS, because these are the two dominant mobile operating systems that are available. So pick your goal here, either with web application or mobile application. By now, you would have come to a decision of what are all the requirements that need to achieve your goal. Now you have to start thinking of how to learn those technical stacks. For example, if you have decided to go with a web application for your e-commerce store, you would need to learn the very first thing is the user interface, which comprises of front end and front end frameworks. Front end is highly built on HTML, CSS, JavaScript technologies. These are the basic things that one has to learn, over which we have a lot of frameworks like React, Angular, Vue.js, etc., about which you don't need to bother now. The basic thing to take away here is to develop a front end, you need a bare minimum of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you have to plan your study in a way that you have to start with the HTML, learn CSS, and come to JavaScript. So now we are coming to the point where we are going to learn these three technology stacks. So how do you learn this? Learning is always a cumulative effect. So we have a lot of senses to us. We have eyes, ears, nose. Of course, it is not going to help you in learning, but you'll have to inculcate a lot of methods to improvise and retain your knowledge. There are different modes of learning available. You can either learn online or offline or through books or going to a tutor. Online, you have a lot of mediums like you have Udemy, you have even Saitechinfo.com where you can subscribe and learn courses. You have different MOOCs. MOOC in the sense it's a massive open course online where you have some free courses available just to let you know what is the language is all about, and it won't well deep into the intricacies of a program. So it is always you go with online or someone who is knowledgeable who can guide you in this. Going by books is well enough if you are in a school or college or learning a course somewhere outside. But you can't learn everything by books. You need someone who can teach you or guide you of how to write a program, what are the common errors you would face, which the books doesn't deal. Of course, the books will give you the theoretical knowledge of how it works and why it has been designed so. But to involve something practical, you need someone as a coach or a tutor who would help you doing that. So carefully pick your learning methodology and go accordingly. Going to do, you can now carefully pick the right tool that is required for your job. Tool in the sense is not alone the integrated environment that you are going to write a software, it is also the physical tools. It's obvious that you need a PC or a Mac or a laptop in order to learn programming. Of course, you don't need a much higher configuration to start with, but bare minimum at least 4 gigs of RAM and a i3 processor with 500 GB of storage is bare minimum required to run your program seamlessly. An old processor or a old machine will not help you in going further. Doesn't mean that your program won't run, but the cost of maintenance and your time will be wasted much on fixing those things. So carefully prepare your tools. It's enough that you have a Windows machine, or if you are highly affordable, you can always go with a Mac, which is always stable and robust. And of course, there is a free operating system like Ubuntu and Linux Mint, which are always available and is free of cost. So prepare your tools so that you can design effectively, and also see to that you have a decent graphics. Of course, you are not going to do some graphic intensive things for web application, but your target may be anything. If you are into graphic design or if you are into multimedia, which is going to be your focus area, then you have to prepare your tools accordingly. And for example, if you are going for a game development or if you are interested in becoming a game developer, you'll have to buy the necessary tools. And of course, it comes with a cost. So the things why we need to do a lot of research is that it will help you mitigate the cost wherever possible. Say if randomly if you go to decide on the tools without picking your actual goal and analyzing the requirement and your learning strategy, you'll end up in trouble. A web developer need not have a machine which is used by a gaming engineer. So it is always the right tools that are required for the right job. Decide carefully and mitigate the cost. Have a fixed goal is what our first point was, and now you have to fix your time. It should be a continuous habit. You should always have a deadline. If not, you will never have a focus. Say, for example, if you want to build an application down the lane in 3 months, you have to start your learning right now and finish it off in 1.5 to 2 months so that you will have 1 month to write your program for your goal. So, at the same time, you don't need to rush. You have to carefully plan, have priorities. If you are going for work, or if you are a student, or if you are on some other domain, there's no problem at all. You can always learn this as a hobby. Carefully plan your time. Take 1 hour a minimum every day. So allocate the 1 hour across the day, probably in the morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you're comfortable. But do it consistently. So 1 hour a day will become 7 hours in a week, which will further become 21 hours. So at least in 3 weeks, in 21 hours, we can complete a module, probably HTMLs. HTML, you will be sound at HTML in 3 weeks. And for JavaScript, based on your time and energy, you may spend another 1 hour a day. It will take another 40 to 50 hours to complete JavaScript if you are a beginner who is going to start from scratch. So do it in a slow pace, don't rush, understand the concepts clearly, and digest it by solving a lot of problems. So the more time you spend on, the more time you will be worth writing a perfect code. There are two things here. One is you have to fix a goal and find what is a priority for your goal. So if you are fixing a goal randomly without any actual project that you are going to make, say for example, you intend to build a web application for your shop, but you are in no hurry and you have a flexible time, then you can go in ease. I mean, you can carefully or you can go in a slow paced manner where you can allocate 1 hour a day for your learning. So this 1 hour a day will in a normal pace will get you 6 months of time. So in 6 months, you can develop a well-built application for your shop. Say if you are a medium learner or if you are an advanced learner, you can always finish it in 2 to 3 months. Depends on the time and if you are and based on your self-understanding. You have to decide the time carefully and not to rush it. Just go in a slow pace. Carefully learn it and practice it. So start coding from the very first day. Don't wait until you complete the entire program. It's it's not a book that you're going to read from page 1 to page 200 or something like that. You have to practice every line of the code or the concept that you're learning by hand. If you are going to be a beginner or you never had a exposure to program or something like that, you should always practice every piece of code. Say for example, you are learning about data types or you're learning about string. Always do some small problem that you can easily practice online. So do some string manipulations, or even merging two strings, or ripping off a string, anything. You have online practice channels like Hacker Rank or Code Chef, where you can go and simply try out all the concepts that you have learned. It is always important that you practice the concepts, only then it will retain. Else you won't remember what you have learned. So in order to consistently remember and retain the information that you have learned, you have to practice it from the day one. You'll be aware of all the programming concepts. It is also important that you should not keep on reading until the end of the book. There are so many methods, so many libraries that are available for a program, and you can't simply remember or memorize all. And it is imperative that you need not do that, as you have Google and a lot of other reference sites that can help you out of it. If you are a student who is going to have an exam, or if you are a self-learner who is going to attend a given exam, then it's mandatory that you have to learn few things that are of vital importance. That is, at least to remember few keywords and few data types, etc. But it is highly practical that you don't need to remember everything. You just need to know what is what and how it works. It can also be searched as a reference. There are so many documentations and so many references available out there in the World Wide Web, where you can always search for the content and learn about it. In order to start building an application, you need to know the major things. First of all, you must know how the program needs to be written. The syntactical part of it is main. You should know the conditional part of it, how to write conditions for it, what are all the loops and other conditions available, what are all the methods available, and some basic libraries that can be consumed in order to write a simple application. It's more than enough to start with. So you can always even talk with an expert programmer or even a software developer who has multiple knowledge on different programming languages. They don't keep reading until the end of the book of every program. They just know what needs to be known. All programming languages are common. If you are just knowing one common programming language, or if you just learn one simple programming language, you can easily adapt to any other programming language as well. The main point is you should understand the crux of the working of the programming language. The other libraries and other methods can also be searched, or you can always search for it in a Google and get the related information. Don't keep reading and reading. Start jumping into practice and build an application. You have learned. So far, you would have learned some basic things like conditions or the syntax part of it, the control flow statements, or you might be learning of object-oriented programming, etc. So based on this, whatever you have learned, you have to construct few modules. You need not wait until you learn all the concepts that you need to know, because the basic concepts will be covered mostly in 50% of what you're learning. So the remaining part is going to be just an enhancements which will tell you how to simplify your code or how to reuse your code. That's what every programming language will focus on. So the major 50% will be covered with all core concepts which are essential to write a program. So start building modules based on that. So you can make a calculator, for example, or you can make a to-do list, or you can make an expense tracker, anything of any sort. You can always get some idea from searching the Google, but you need not wait until you finish the entire concept. This is an important takeaway that every learner has to keep in mind, because majority of the programming languages will have, there is a famous book which talks about 80-20. So the 20% of thing will comprise the entire aspect of what you need to know. So the remaining 80% will fall in place. That's how it is. So the remaining 80% will be more of optimization and how to make your coding look very simple is what is all going to focus about. So start building things, a small module maybe, or you can even build your own library and even post it to the programmer whoever has written it. Nowadays you have a lot of open source communities where you can contribute. So earlier it was not there, where you couldn't contribute, but you can simply keep it in your one shelf. But now you have a lot of open source contribution, so you can do it that as well. Probably that will come when you're more mature. But now all you have to do is start writing small modules that can be used in your daily life, or to ease your task fixed, or what are the requirements you need, or what is the type of learning that you're going to approach, and what are the tools. You'd be clear on all this, and having gone through 50% of your learning stage, now you have to focus more on learning a framework. Programming language is more of a basement, or you could say it's more of scaffolding built. So framework is the one that is going to help you and build an application. You can always write an application using a programming language, but a framework is more of a convenient way to build an application. It's a wrapper over programming language in order to help you in writing the code. So a framework has a list of predefined utilities and predefined libraries that will help you in reducing your time rewriting all those stuffs. Say for example, a user interface in React, or a user interface in Angular. So what are these called as? These are the frameworks. So let us not be more specific on web application. There are also other applications like programming languages like Java. Java is more of a backend based language where they do a lot of backend engineering using Java. Java has specific frameworks like Spring, Hibernate, etc., which is used to develop backend applications. So, and JavaScript also has a backend application framework called Node. Node is another backend framework which will help you write backend languages. So, Node has further dependent on libraries called Express, etc., in order to write an API. API is application program interface. So let us not go deep into the topic, but all you have to understand is for everything you need a framework. Framework is going to simplify your process of writing the program or an application. So, so whatever you see in a UI, user interface, probably in any website, you could see a lot of tables, a lot of search boxes, and a lot of images which should be scrolling up and down, horizontal, whatever. So all these are components. So these are all predefined components which will be available in your chosen framework. So if you have planned, or if you are not going to use any frameworks, if you are going to write it bare metal in your own basic programming language, it will be a tough job. Not that I don't say that you can't write it, but it will be a tough job, because why do you want to waste your time if someone has already written it? That is what framework is all about. Framework is a package that is going to lessen your burden and make you write applications seamlessly. Define knowledge on what a programming language is, and you have learned a basic construct of what are all the components available in the programming language, and having gone through a lot of methodologies, and you have chosen a framework and you got deep into it, and now you are ready to build an application. Now that you are, all you have to do is you have to make a design. You have to go through a number of steps and brainstorm your ideas and decide what you need to do. Also, there is an important aspect. An application can be static or dynamic. When you call it as an application, it should involve the three or four factors. You have to be able to create, you have to read, you have to update and delete. This is normally called as CRUD or CRUD, whatever you may call it, CRUD. So eventually that is called as an application. Programming language alone is not enough in order to build an application. You need to know some database query languages, and of course combined with the programming language that you have chosen, you can easily build an application. So this video was more on how to learn a programming language in the right way, but you also need to know that you need to understand some logics behind how an application works, which I will eventually post in the upcoming videos. Happy learning and enjoy programming.